Hey guys, I hope you are not totally depressed because of less riding your bikes in the winter. Here is the fourth part of my long-term review of BMW S1000XR with 100k kilometers on the clock. I ended this season with 113,000 kilometers and can't wait for the warmer weather to continue enjoying this beautiful machine. As I promised earlier, the final part of this review would be about the maintenance of the bike. So I'll be talking about the maintenance of engine, brakes, suspension, electrics and other less vital things on the bike. I want to thank you all for supporting my work by subscribing and commenting on my videos. Should you have any questions or remarks, feel free to write in the comments below. Now, let's start with the review. The most important part of the bike is its engine, of course, so I begin with the maintenance remarks and tips. Most of you already asked me about the camshafts and cam chain that have made more than 100k kilometers, and I discussed it in detail in the second part of the review. Now, what I did to keep the engine always fresh was to double the oil changes than it's required by the manufacturer. I'm not saying that this engine would have any problems if done differently. I just decided to change the oil every 5,000 to 6,000 kilometers, as I used to do with all other motorcycles I owned in the past. After all, it is a pretty cheap thing you can do for your motorcycle, so why not refreshing it from time to time? Also, I can confirm that the metal residues on the oil sump bolt magnet are reduced to the minimum, probably by the more often oil changes. In the most of the oil changes I used the full synthetic Motul 5W40 oil and the high flow HF 160 oil filter. Motul is a really great oil manufacturer, but I'm not going to open the ancient discussion about what oil is the best. I'll just conclude that any full synthetic oil will do, as long as it is original. Changing the oil on this engine is a piece of cake. It takes no longer than 20 minutes to do it. When it comes to the maintenance of the clutch system, I've done the visual inspection of clutch basket and plates twice so far, and if needed, it is very easy to replace the clutch set. Just to remind that I'm still on the original set of plates and everything still works flawlessly. Changing spark plugs takes 3 to 4 hours, since you have to remove the fuel reservoir, but it is doable. Although the BMW requires the spark plug replacement every 20k kilometers, I replace them every 35 to 40,000 kilometers. Just to report that used spark plugs look completely fine when pulled out from the engine. You need the NGK LMAR9DJ spark plugs. Also, when replacing the spark plugs, I usually remove the engine cover and inspect the valves on the bike, reminding that in the last inspection at 96,000 kilometers they were all in specs, hence they did not require any adjustments. I change the engine coolant every 3 years, and it is also an easy job to do. It takes about half hour to replace it. The required coolant is the BMW antifreeze fluid, BMW part number A3512445-463. It comes in the 1.5 liter bottle, and you have to mix it 50-50 with the distilled water. To replace the coolant, the engine should be warmed up to 60 degrees of Celsius. After it's done, with the engine off, just remove the hose from the water pump and wait for the coolant to be fully drained. After the coolant is drained, reconnect the hose and refill the coolant in the radiator until it starts to leak from the cap. Then turn the engine on and wait it for warm up to the point it engages the radiator fan. It starts at 105 degrees. Add more coolant when needed, and after it's done, turn off the engine, and when fully cooled, check the coolant level in the white expander box. That's it. Changing air filter is just a 20 minutes job. The only thing you have to remove before reaching the air filter box is the U-shaped plastic on the front of the reservoir, and then to pull out the filter rack. Suspension. As the most of modern BMW motorcycles, this model is equipped with the BMW semi-active suspension called DESA, Dynamic ESA. It is relatively easy to maintain it properly. Proper oil for the forks is BMW Telescopic Fork Oil Type 2 with a thickness of 11.5 W. To change it, you have to remove the forks from the bike. So first you have to remove the front wheel, then remove forks, and finally to open the caps. But remember that it has different cartridges. The right side is manual and requires 665 milliliters of oil, and the left one, which is electronically regulated, needs approximately 241 millimeters of oil. Also, electronic cartridge is sealed and there is some OEM red oil inside it, but it is not required to replace it ever if it works properly. So after you removed opened fork caps, just leave them upside down for some time to be fully drained, and when it's done, pour new oil in and you are good to go. I've never changed the oil in the rear shock since it worked flawlessly all the time. Brakes. When it comes to brake maintenance, one has to change brake fluid every year and to replace brake pads when worn. Changing brake fluid is very easy, since the job is done fully mechanically. At least DOT4 oil is needed. Just open the brake fluid cap, unscrew the caliper bleed screw, and pump the brake while adding new oil until you see new oil coming out from the caliper. Then do the same process with other calipers and the job is done. Replacing brake pads is also an easy job, since you don't have to remove calipers of the forks or rear swing. Original Brembo brake pads number are written on the screen. Once I also used EBC double sintered brake pads and they worked just fine. However, they produce that squishy sound when engaged, which might be annoying for some riders. If not, feel free to use them. Electrics. Regarding the electrics on this bike, I'll mention that the stator generator died at 76,000 kilometers, and that was the only thing that didn't survive the first 100k kilometer. I've tried to repair it by local electrician, but the rewinding lasted only about 8k kilometers when it suddenly died. So I decided to buy original stator on eBay, installed it, and so far it worked flawlessly. Original battery on this bike is just not good. It does not last long. That is why I purchased Yuasa YTX model, which I highly recommend because it lasted more than 2 years and about 50k kilometers and costs less than a half of BMW original one. No other electrical problem on the bike. To conclude, BMW S1000XR first generation is a very reliable motorcycle. My bike with more than 100k kilometers still works as new, and I'm not planning to sell it soon. I'll keep you updated if anything breaks and hope to make another review at 100k miles on the clock. So thank you all for watching my videos. Should you have any questions, feel free to write. I will try to answer as soon as possible. New reviews are on their way, and since the new season is beginning soon, I'll try to test more different motorcycles. Thank you and see you soon.